What's going on, guys? Today I want to talk to you about the narrative that you tell yourself. Now, self-talk is very important for mental health and just, especially when you're like trying to personally develop. And so, for example, say you don't like your job, and before you go, you're like, oh, it's going to be a rubbish day, I've got this to do, I've got that to do, I've got to see this person. When you do that, you're already setting out your day to how it's going to go and your outcome. Now, you might argue, well, even when I haven't done that and I'm more positive, I still end up having a bad time. Yes, that can happen. But the chances and the likelihood and the odds of that happening aren't as great as it is when you already go into the day with that mindset of, oh, it's going to be rubbish, I'm going to struggle today. Because you're already telling your brain. So when that happens, you was expecting it. And you're comfortable beforehand. So when it does happen, you're accepting it. Instead of maybe you go into it with a positive attitude. And maybe something does go wrong. But in that moment, you're able to be like looking for the positives. Looking for the silver lining. Like I said, what's your self-talk? And it doesn't just have to be a job. That was just an example I gave. It can be many things in life. Look at like sports athletes. That is a mental thing more than a physical thing. People are like, nah, people are chosen for sports, and to get to a professional level you have to have all these contacts, and contacts are a part of it. Physical ability is a part of it, but the mental side of it is so important that I think it gets underlooked. Because the average person doesn't have that self-confidence and that positivity and that mental attitude that you need. And I think that's why so many people struggle in sports as well. And that's why very few make it to the elite level. The ones that make it to the elite level, you could argue maybe they lose some of that once they're there. But that's going to happen. But to get there in the first place, you have to have the right mental attitude. I heard that, I'm not sure who the player was, there was a player that just played in the Super Bowl that got released from 7 or rejected from 7 different teams. And he's just played in the Super Bowl. Now, do you think if that was you and you got rejected maybe once, I reckon that some of you would have quit at that point. 7 times this guy got released. Released or rejected, I'm not sure, one of the two. But can you imagine how much of a failure and how disappointed he must have felt? But the key thing being, he did not give up in that moment. He did not give up in that time. So what I'm challenging you to do, whatever you're going through in life, what's your self-talk? What's your outlook on it? What's your mental attitude towards it? Because that will decide how you deal with it. That will decide the outcome of that situation. Another example of that attitude as well is I was watching LA Lakers the other day. And they did a post-game interview with LeBron. And the Lakers won. And they were the away team. And he was saying, like, the interviewer asked him, like, what was the key to them having, like, I think they got the first or second best record in the NBA. I believe it's the second. And they were asking what the key was to the team, like, it was him, Anthony Davis, and I think it was Dwight Howard. And they was asking what the key was to having 3 players consistently sort of chipping in with double figures in terms of points per game and getting the W at the end of the games. And he was saying, because they had a load of away games in that period, they go into games with that road warrior, that warrior mentality of like, we're the away team here, we've only got us on this trip. Yes, it's helpful. Yes, it's good when we've got our fans backing us on away games, but sometimes they can't make it all the way out to certain cities. And he was saying we got to go into the games with that warrior mentality to get us through and to get that W. And that's what I'm talking about. It's that attitude. They're not going to win every single game, but they're winning the majority of the games because they're going into the games. Yes, they've got talent and size on their side as well, but they still have to have that mental attitude, because they could be individually more talented than certain teams they come up against, but they're not a team as much as the other team are. But they're putting their individual skills into a team-based game as well, and it's all coming together and clicking. But that wouldn't click just on a skill and physical level. It has to click mentally as well. And all of that team have obviously got the right attitude and right mentality, because otherwise they wouldn't have the record they've got and they wouldn't be winning all these games. So I just wanted to add that as well, because that's something that I just remembered, that when I was watching that interview I was like, and I'm not the biggest fan of LeBron. So, but even that, I was like, I respect that, because that shows the mindset, and that's big. So I'm challenging you, what's your mindset? How are you looking at today? What if you know there's something difficult you got to deal with today? Pre-game, what's your pre-game mentality? Because that will decide and influence what's going to happen.